The colony stretched for miles, a chaotic mesh of towering metal structures, flickering neon lights, and hovering ships that zipped through the sky like glowing insects. It was a place where humans and aliens crossed paths every day, though not always peacefully. Among the crowds, a tiny alien girl moved cautiously, her small frame almost invisible beside the towering beings around her. Her skin glowed faintly, a soft iridescent light that pulsed with her heartbeat, and her enormous eyes darted nervously from side to side. She clutched a small glowing artifact in her hands, holding it close as if it were the only thing keeping her safe in this noisy, alien world. She had arrived on this colony weeks ago, sent here for safety, while her home planet faced threats she could barely comprehend. But safety, it seemed, was hard to come by. Despite her delicate appearance and quiet manners, she had drawn attention. Attention she did not want. Some aliens, larger and rougher, had begun to tease her. At first it was whispers and stares, but soon it became more direct. They mocked her size, tried to snatch her artifact, and shoved her aside as she walked through the crowded streets. Her small voice trembled as she tried to defend herself. "Please, leave me alone," she whispered, her words barely audible over the hum of the colony. The bullies only laughed. One of them, a tall, muscular alien with spiky horns and jagged teeth, bent down and grabbed the artifact. "What's this, little glow bug?" He sneered, tossing it from one hand to the other. The tiny girl reached for it, but another bully shoved her back and she stumbled against the edge of a hovering platform. "Stop! Give it back!" she cried, but her voice lacked the power to make them listen. From across the street, a human watched. He was not particularly tall, but his posture was steady, and there was a calm intensity in his eyes. His gaze followed the scene carefully, noting the bully's every movement. He had seen cruelty before in other colonies, but he had also seen how one person could make a difference. Without hesitation, he started walking toward them. The bullies noticed him and laughed, assuming he was just another passerby. But when he stepped directly between them and the tiny girl, their laughter faltered. There was no aggression in his voice as he spoke, only calm authority. "Leave her alone." The words were simple, but they carried weight. The tallest bully snarled, stepping closer. "And what will you do, human? She's just a little alien, worth nothing." The human's eyes didn't waver. "She's worth everything if you know what it means to be brave." One of the bullies lunged forward, thinking his size would intimidate the human. But the man moved with lightning speed, sidestepping and blocking the attack. He didn't strike aggressively, only redirected the force, making the attacker stumble forward harmlessly. The other bullies paused, glancing at each other, surprised that a human could stand so firmly against them. The tiny alien girl's eyes widened. She had never seen someone defend her like this before. Fear had always made her shrink into herself, but now she felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The human knelt slightly, bringing himself closer to her level. "Are you hurt?" he asked gently, scanning her small frame for injuries. She shook her head, clutching her artifact tightly. I'm fine. They always pick on me." "They won't anymore," he said simply. His voice was steady, filled with a promise that went beyond words. The bullies, realizing they were outmatched not in brute strength but in courage, muttered curses and retreated, disappearing into the crowded streets. For a moment, silence fell over the area. The tiny girl looked up at the human, awe shining in her large eyes. Why did you help me?" she whispered. "Because no one deserves to be treated like that," he replied, offering a small smile. "Especially not someone like you." She hesitated, then nodded. She had learned to trust very few, but there was something about this human that felt different. He didn't just protect her with strength. He seemed to understand fear, loneliness, and the importance of standing up for what is right. As they walked together through the colony, the human guided her past crowded markets, floating transport lines, and neon-lit plazas. He introduced her quietly to the rhythms of the colony, explaining which areas were safe and which to avoid. She listened intently, absorbing every word, feeling more secure than she had in weeks. "Why are you here alone?" he asked gently, breaking the silence between them. "My planet. It's not safe anymore," she replied, her voice tinged with sadness. They are at war. I had to leave. They said I would be safer here, but..." Her words trailed off as she looked down at her glowing artifact. He nodded, understanding her unspoken fears. "It's hard leaving everything behind. But you're not alone now. I'll help you." The tiny girl's eyes filled with tears, but they were not tears of fear. They were tears of relief. For the first time since she had arrived on this strange, bustling colony, she felt that someone genuinely cared for her well-being. They moved deeper into the colony, the human explaining the rules of survival in simple, clear terms. He taught her to observe her surroundings carefully, to avoid dangerous areas and to trust her instincts. Every lesson, small though it seemed, was a shield against the hostility that lurked in this alien world. But the colony was not without danger. The bullies, though driven off temporarily, were still around. Other creatures and unscrupulous traders might see her as an opportunity, not as a person. The human knew this and remained vigilant. He didn't just walk beside her. He scanned every shadow, every alley, ready to intervene at the first sign of trouble. As night fell, the colony transformed. Neon lights painted the streets in bright hues, and hovering vehicles reflected off metallic surfaces. Despite the beauty, there was an underlying tension. Every shadow could hide danger. Every quiet corner could conceal a threat. But with the human by her side, the tiny alien girl felt braver than she ever had. They paused at a small plaza, the girl looking around with curiosity. "It's so big here, so different," she whispered. "It's different, yes," he agreed. "But different doesn't mean unsafe. It just means you have to learn its rules, and you're learning fast." A small smile appeared on her glowing face. She felt a sense of pride, small though it was, for surviving the day and for having someone to trust. The human noticed it too, a subtle change in her posture, a light in her eyes that had been absent before. As they continued walking, he told her stories about humans and other beings who had stood up against bullies, against tyrants, and against unfairness. These stories were not of great battles or wars, but of simple courage, small acts that changed lives. She listened intently, her fears slowly being replaced with admiration and resolve. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the plaza. One of the bullies, a smaller but sneaky alien, had returned, trying to catch them off guard. The human didn't panic. He stepped forward, blocking the bully's path. "I told you to leave her alone," he said calmly, his tone firm. The bully laughed nervously, clearly unnerved by the human's confidence. Before he could act, the tiny girl stepped forward too, her small hands glowing brighter than before. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice stronger than it had been all day. The human looked at her, impressed. She was learning. Together they were a team. The bully, intimidated by both the human's calm authority and the girl's unexpected courage, slunk away, muttering threats he would never fulfill. The tiny alien girl turned to the human. I didn't know I could do that," she said, awe and pride mingling in her voice. "You can," he replied with a smile. "You just need someone to believe in you." As the night deepened, they found a quiet spot near a hovering transport line. The girl rested, still clutching her artifact, while the human kept watch. He knew this was only the beginning. The colony was full of challenges, and not all dangers could be seen so clearly. But for now, the immediate threat was gone, and she was safe. In that moment, a bond formed between them, not of obligation, but of trust and courage. She had found a protector, a guide, and perhaps even a friend. He had found someone worth defending, someone who reminded him of why he valued bravery and empathy above all else. The tiny alien girl closed her glowing eyes, finally able to rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, and new lessons. But tonight, for the first time since she had arrived, she felt hope. And the human watching over her knew that he would face whatever came next, because no one, no matter how small, deserved to face the galaxy's dangers alone. The stars above the colony twinkled faintly through the artificial domes, reflecting in the tiny girl's large eyes. She was small, yes, but with courage growing inside her and a human standing beside her, she felt a strength she had never known. And somewhere in the shadows, unknown threats stirred, watching, waiting. But for now, the hero had arrived, and the tiny alien girl would not be bullied again. The colony had quieted slightly as the night deepened, but the sense of danger had not vanished. Shadows seemed to stretch longer, corners appeared darker, and every alley whispered the possibility of trouble. The tiny alien girl had slept fitfully, dreaming of her home planet and of the bullies who had tried to harm her. The human sat nearby, alert, his sharp eyes scanning the streets for any sign of threat. Though the night was calm for now, he knew that peace was often temporary in this crowded, chaotic place. When the girl finally opened her eyes, the first rays of the artificial morning light filtered through the translucent domes. She rubbed her glowing hands, looking at the human who had been silently watching over her. "Did they come back last night?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Not while I was watching. But we need to be careful. Not all of them are gone, and some might have allies." The girl nodded, feeling both fear and determination. She had learned that survival was not about running away. It was about courage, teamwork, and thinking ahead. And she now had someone who believed in her, someone who had shown her that even a tiny alien could stand up when given the chance. They set out into the streets as the colony awakened. The human guided her past crowded marketplaces where alien traders sold exotic fruits, glowing minerals, and strange devices that hummed with energy. He pointed out safer paths, teaching her to notice escape routes, high perches, and areas with fewer threats. Each lesson was small but essential. Every decision could be the difference between safety and danger. As they rounded a corner, a shadow moved swiftly above them. A group of bullies, larger and more organized than before, had returned, this time joined by a few unscrupulous traders who had been watching the tiny alien girl. They saw her as a rare prize, someone worth capturing or exploiting. The human immediately recognized the threat. He didn't panic. Instead, he subtly guided the girl toward a narrower street, where their numbers could be managed. The leader of the bullies sneered, spotting the human and the girl. "You can't hide from us, human," he shouted. "We'll take her this time." The human stopped, turning to face them. He raised his hands, not in surrender, but in calm readiness. "If you want to take her, you'll have to go through me," he said firmly. His eyes flicked toward the girl, signaling her to stay close. The tiny alien girl felt her pulse quicken, but she also felt a strange confidence. The human had taught her to trust her instincts. She straightened her posture, her hands glowing slightly, and she whispered, "I'm ready." The attackers advanced, but the human had prepared for this. Using the narrow street to his advantage, he anticipated their movements, blocking attacks, redirecting momentum, and using quick, precise strikes, not to harm them seriously, but to disable and slow them. The bullies and traders were caught off guard. They had expected an easy target, but the human moved like water, calm yet powerful, defending without losing control. The tiny girl, though small, played her part. Her glowing hands emitted brief flashes of light, temporarily blinding attackers and giving the human an edge. Her size allowed her to slip between legs, dart behind corners, and retrieve anything that had been dropped. Together, human and alien girl became a seamless team, using intelligence, courage, and agility to outmaneuver their opponents. The fight drew attention from nearby colonists. Some watched from above, curious and concerned. Others quietly assisted by blocking escape routes for the attackers, showing solidarity with the human and the girl. The colony had its dangers, but it also had people who recognized courage and fairness when they saw it. After several minutes of tense maneuvers, the attackers realized they were outmatched. They were not defeated through sheer strength, but through careful strategy, clever thinking, and the unbreakable bond between the human and the tiny alien girl. Frustrated and humiliated, the bullies retreated, grumbling threats they would never carry out. The traders, seeing their scheme fail, vanished into the crowd, muttering about lost opportunities. The girl exhaled, relief washing over her. I never thought I could do that," she whispered, still trembling but smiling. "You did," the human replied, offering a hand. "You just needed to believe in yourself. Courage isn't about size or strength. It's about standing up when it matters." For a while, they walked in silence, the adrenaline of the fight slowly fading. The human glanced at the girl, noticing how much she had changed in just one day. Her fear had been replaced with quiet determination, her eyes brighter and her posture more confident. She had learned quickly, but more importantly, she had learned to trust someone else, to trust him. As they moved through a quieter part of the colony, the girl spoke. "Thank you for not letting them hurt me. I didn't think anyone would ever care." "You're worth caring about," he said simply. "No one should have to face cruelty alone. And sometimes being brave isn't just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting others too." The tiny girl nodded, her glowing hands pulsing softly as she absorbed his words. She realized that even though she was small, she could make a difference. She could defend herself and others if she had courage, guidance, and trust. But the day was not over. Even as they thought the danger had passed, the colony itself reminded them that threats were everywhere. Strange noises echoed from nearby alleys, and distant alarms hinted at more trouble. The human knew that staying alert was crucial. He began teaching her how to read signs of danger, subtle gestures, shifting shadows, and the movements of crowds. Each observation was another layer of protection. As evening approached, they found a quiet, elevated platform overlooking the colony. The girl sat on the edge, her glowing body casting soft light while the human stood beside her watching the activity below. "Do you think I'll ever be safe here?" she asked quietly, her voice filled with both hope and worry. "Safe enough to live, yes," he said. "Completely safe? Maybe not. But that's life in the galaxy. There will always be challenges. What matters is how you face them. And today, you faced them. You've grown stronger, braver, and smarter in ways you didn't even know." The tiny alien girl looked out at the colony, seeing it not as a dangerous place, but as a world full of possibilities. She could learn, explore, and grow, and she would never have to face it alone again. The human had shown her that courage and kindness could change everything. Suddenly, movement caught their attention. Another group approached, but this time it was not hostile. Instead, it was a mix of colonists and other aliens who had witnessed the earlier events. They came forward cautiously, offering assistance and respect. They recognized the human's bravery and the girl's courage. Some offered supplies, others information about safe routes, and a few simply nodded in acknowledgement, silently promising protection if danger arose again. The girl's eyes widened. She had never seen such support. She realized that courage and kindness could inspire others, creating allies even in a world that often seemed cruel. The human smiled at her, noticing her awe. "See, you're not alone. You have people around who will stand with you, and together we can face whatever comes next." As night fell, they walked through the colony once more, side by side. The streets were quieter now, lit by the soft glow of hovering lights and neon signs. The tiny alien girl felt a sense of peace she had not known since leaving her home planet. She still carried the weight of being different, of being small, but she no longer felt powerless. With courage, intelligence, and the human beside her, she could face anything. The human glanced at her, proud not just of her survival, but of her growth. She had begun the day afraid, trembling under the weight of cruelty, and she had ended it strong, confident, and brave. He realized that the galaxy had tested her, and she had risen to the challenge. In the distance, stars shimmered faintly through the colony's domes, reflecting off the metallic surfaces of buildings and vehicles. The tiny alien girl looked up, feeling a connection to something larger than herself, a universe full of possibilities, challenges, and hope. She knew that dangers would come again, but now she was ready, not just to survive, but to thrive, to grow, and to face the galaxy with courage. The human's presence was a constant reminder that even in a world filled with uncertainty, kindness, courage, and trust could make a difference. And together, they would continue to navigate the colony, protect each other, and stand against any who sought to harm the innocent. As they walked toward a safe shelter for the night, the girl whispered, "I'm glad you found me." "And I'm glad I did," the human replied, smiling. "Sometimes the smallest beings teach the greatest lessons." With that, they entered the shelter, the soft glow of the girl's body illuminating their path. The colony hummed quietly around them, alive with the sounds of distant ships and voices. But inside their small safe space there was peace. They had faced danger, protected each other, and grown stronger. And tomorrow the galaxy awaited, filled with challenges, wonders, and opportunities. For the tiny alien girl and her heroic human companion, the adventure was only beginning. Together, they would face the unknown, guided by courage, empathy, and an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of adversity. The story of the bullied little alien and the human who stepped in to protect her had just begun, but already it had changed them both, shaping their futures in ways they could only imagine.